All right, hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Social Media Success for Professionals. And today we have a jammer because I have another social media expert joining me today to give you all the juicy goodness on how to use social to win clients and to grow your business. So joining me is Chris Burns. He is an entrepreneur, an author, and an owner and social media expert, owner of Lux Level Media, social media expert. Chris Burns, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello. I love the enthusiasm, Heather. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So we've been coordinating this date for a while now. I've been interested and excited to talk to you because you're yet another social media expert out there. And between our experiences, we've seen some things over the last couple of years,
hmm
mistakes that are being made, really great things. And later on, we're going to talk about strategy. But first, can you educate the folks listening today on how did you get here? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version because I know this is a short podcast, but marketing for me really started back in high school. And it was interesting. I was looking for a slacker class or elective, and my guidance counselor's like, hey, you should try marketing. And I'm like, well, what the heck is that? And she explained it. She's like, oh, you get to take a class trip to New York City. And as a small town kid from Wisconsin, I was like, yeah, then you get to work in the school store, class trip, let's do it. So I eventually ended up studying marketing in college, worked in and out of a family business for a while. And when marketing became really, really interesting was when I started working for an agency probably 7, 8 years ago. And that is where had this aha moment of like entrepreneurship. Like, this is how I'm going to build my business. And that was probably the first time in my career where I really loved what I did. And I was mid early 30s. And so that's when I really knew like I need to continue to work in marketing, but I also want to be an entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
so I left, became a consultant, started a business, and here I am, loving life.
Yeah, man. Started not one, but many businesses. Is that right?
Yeah, but ultimately marketing is my passion, and it's something that I've stuck with in some capacity my whole life, and I just love it. I love it for a lot of reasons because I love that it changes and evolves. I love that it challenges me, and then more importantly, I've always enjoyed helping others, whether that be through youth coaching or in this capacity now I get to help other businesses grow and scale, and as well as nonprofits. I do a lot of discounted nonprofit work. And for me, it's really fun to know that you're making an impact in your community or locally by helping some really great organizations too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, marketing's the way where you can have a really significant impact and a fun time doing it. Because
I think so.
marketing is a ton of fun to come up with the messages, the words, the images, and definitely with nonprofits, marketing is not a budget they have, right? So,
No.
so to come in and do that work, man, that must be fulfilling.
It really is, and especially when you get to work with an organization that you're passionate about. And I've been on a couple different boards. I love to give back. I love my community, and so as much as I to a fault would probably do most of that and not make any money. I have to
Right.
be selective. But last year, I think I served 14 nonprofits, all at some kind of a discounted capacity. And it is great at the end of the year just to know, like, wow, we made a real impact as a small team. So yeah, it's fun.
That's cool. That's cool. So you're working with nonprofits, you're working with other private companies, and one of the major issues that we see out there with social is strategy and not having one. So that's what we're going to
Yeah.
jam about today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because so many businesses, consultants, coaches, I mean, whoever's using social for whatever capacity, I'll often hear things like, well, ads don't work for me, or blogs don't work for me, or, I tried that and I didn't have any success. And so often, what is the root cause? So you start asking questions and you start digging. And a lot of it's like, well, I tried it. And I said, well, what was your budget for a Facebook ad? Well, I spent like $5 a day for like a week, and like a week is enough, right? No. And even if it was enough, the content probably sucked. And even
Right.
if you dive deeper, it's like, okay, well, what was your plan? Well, I didn't really have one. I just was, my buddy said it worked for him really well. So I tried it, but you didn't have any success. So wait, you didn't have a strategy, you didn't have a plan. You just wanted to try something. It didn't work. So you just dipped your pinky toe in the pool and you're like, this isn't for me. I'm out. How do you know it worked? How
Yeah.
do you know if so you need to have a strategy, and it's the lack thereof, I think, is one of the reasons why so many businesses, they set themselves up to fail and they don't even know it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and yeah, right, because, it's one thing to put a message out there, but it's another to have um let's say a way to capture all of that goodness. I mean, there are so
Yeah.
many things that happen with advertising beyond the sale, okay? Because it's a long-term game and we're marketing. So there are so many things that happen. Um that need to be caught as we're going through the marketing and the advertising that are lost. And so yeah, so people get frustrated, they get upset because it quote doesn't work, but they're not even aware of the things that they need to be aware of. So how do we help the folks out today with a strategy?
Well, I want to say this. It
Yeah.
it does work if you do it
Yes.
right. It
Yes.
does work. You know this. I know this. And so that'd be the first thing I'd say is it does work, and it can work at various levels. Even if you kind of half-ass it, pardon my French. But here's where I start. And I want to just preface this with a quick story is I've had a chance to do a lot of public speaking on this subject. My first question to an audience is, how many of you have a strategy? And it's less than 10% every time, guaranteed. And then I'll ask them, how many of you actually have it in document format? Because then it's like you have a real strategy or you don't, because the one in your head does not count. And then hands go down. And I'm not kidding, Heather, like maybe 3 or 4 people out of 100 have it. And I've asked this question probably 25, 35 times to audiences. So I'll say, okay, that's great. If you don't have a strategy, how do you know what's working, what's not? How do you know what you should be posting? How do you hold yourself accountable, or how does your boss hold you accountable? What kind of information are you going to use to go back to your company and say, hey, I want more money for my ads budget, or I want more money to hire an agency or a freelancer? You're not going to have a very good conversation because you have no data, no information, no goals, no nothing. And even if you do have a loose goal, it's probably all arbitrary made up numbers anyway. So like I told you in our previous conversation was, I'll ask people, what's your goal? And they'll say, well, 12% more web traffic. And I'll ask, well, how did you get to that number? Well, I don't know. It seemed realistic, or I read it in a book or in a blog post. It's like, okay, well, you're actually setting yourself up to fail because it's arbitrary. So here's what we do. Here is my framework to have success in digital marketing, whether it be social media or anything else. You can start with a strategy, but I say that's actually not the first step. The first step is to do a very deep audit. So
Mm.
you have to be honest with yourself. You have to have some self-awareness. And the first question I ask is, how much bandwidth do I have? So if I have 5 hours a week in my current full-time job, or if I'm an entrepreneur and I have that time, then a goal of 15% more followers or 20% more web traffic might be realistic. If you have 1 or 2 hours a week, which is probably more realistic for the people doing this within their role at a company, is you should not have a big goal. You should have small double digit or high single digit numbers. Like, I want 8% more web traffic. I want 5% more conversions. And again, I'm just kind of giving you some loose examples.
Right.
We also look at what does our Facebook page, our Instagram page, or whatever else look like. I want you to go through and do a scroll test, see what's working, what's not, what stands out, what got the most amount of engagement, what didn't. And then you want to say, okay, well, what would I want more of if I was a client looking at this page? And so you just be honest with yourself, scroll through it, go through your website, and look at it through the lens of your followers and potential clients. And then I want you to look at 2 or 3 of your competitors. Then I want you to go to Google Analytics, Facebook Insights, or wherever else you can find some really good data, and just go back a few months, maybe look at a whole year. Now we've got all kinds of really good information. And I want you to take that information and I want that to cascade into your strategy. And what I mean by that is, if you said, hey, we had 10,000 unique visitors on our website last year, we might be able to say, hey, you know what? Maybe 12,000 is the goal. Maybe 14,000 is the goal because I now have an ads budget. And so you look at all these things and you can start to make some very, what I would call, robust and intelligent strategies, goals. And so I would say this too, is with goals, just pick 3. if you have 5 hours of bandwidth for this digital marketing / social media, then anything more than that would be too much. And that's the problem with strategies, is that when you create a 10-page document or 20-page document, it becomes so complicated and so stressful that even the thought of looking at this document is like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't want to look at that. So I want you to make the most simple 1-page, maybe 2-page document. So anything that's fluff, leave it out and just focus on, here are the 5 things that I need to get to goal A, which is, if goal A is we want to generate 10% more sales on our website, what are going to be the 3, 4, at the most 5 actions I need to take on a weekly or monthly basis to help serve and achieve that goal? I want you to then put in your ad budget, which could be very small. I want you to put in the number of times you're going to post per week on average. And then I want you to put in some different types of content that will support that goal. Could be video, could be testimonials, could be photos, could be a lot of other things, blog posts. And again, that will support the goal. So when you sit down every week or month and you look at that strategy, you know what you can and should be doing to achieve those goals. And in the simplest form, to where, and this is the third and most important part, once the strategy is built, now we work on the implementation. And for most of us, I want you to think as easy as possible, because here's really my whole secret here, Heather, is I want social media to be so easy for you that it's fun again. And that's actually my tagline on LinkedIn.
Oh,
I make social media so easy, it's fun again. So
social
easy.
media being fun for a business owner?
Yes. But I want it to be so easy that you're excited to get to work or excited to manage your social media again. And so again, this is where it's important, because that strategy I just told you to build, I don't care who builds it. It is absolutely useless and worthless unless you implement and execute on those things. So how do we do that? It starts by blocking time on your calendar. So I want you to, for the foreseeable future, let's just say 3 months, I want you to block 2 chunks of time at minimum on your calendar every week. It could be as little as a half hour. And that is going to be where you're going to go and batch content in Canva, or you're going to go into Microsoft or maybe Google Docs, and you're going to create captions for posts, caption ideas. You're going to create a list of themes you can post about, or businesses you can tag, whatever it might be, so that you always have content. And then when you go in your Canva account or you go in your Dropbox account, you've got a content library where you have a bunch of things living that you can use, that are evergreen, that you can use again in the future. And so again, we want to make it very easy to access, easy that you never run out of content, because as we can get to later, there is always things to post about. And if you set yourself up for success here with this strategy and this plan, you will always have things to post about. So I want to make sure that you have time on your calendar to get it done, because if you can't find time, which you won't, it won't get done. So you have to make time, and that's the key here. Make time, and it will get done. And you don't have to post 5 times a week or 7 times a week. Pick your 3 favorite platforms at most, and say these are the ones that are going to be most valuable to my business and achieving our goals. And most of the time, the content that you post for Facebook will also work on LinkedIn and will also work on Instagram, or, insert vertical video, YouTube Shorts, Snapchat Reels, etc. And so you can kind of kill 2 birds or 3 birds with 1 stone. And the implementation is really key. And with that, you want to make sure that there's also some time there to look at analytics once a month, to report, because again, you have to make sure you're on track. Find a tool as well when it comes to implementation, like a Hootsuite or a Sprout Social or Airtable, that you can use as kind of a hub to hold a lot of your content, to look at the data, to post, to respond to comments, just something to help you save some time. There are other tactics too, but for sake of time, the framework is, as a recap, start with the audit, build a 1 to 2 page strategy, and then implementation, which is really mastering your calendar and your time. So making time, not finding time, making time to prioritize social media, because if you are prioritizing it, it will get done, and it will get done well. and you will start to see a little bit of a snowball effect. Results don't happen overnight, as you know, Heather. I know I'm
Right.
preaching to the choir, but that is just the foundation. And then everything your previous guests have talked about and you have talked about will become all so relevant and so much more important. But this is the foundation. And if you can build a really beautiful home, which I know you'll help your clients with, but if you can have all that beautiful content sit on top of this amazingly strong foundation, which is your strategy, your plan, your implementation, your marketing will do a complete 180.
Yeah.
And I think it's honestly, it's just that easy. We just overcomplicate things as entrepreneurs and as creatives sometimes, and we just have to get back to basic.
Yeah, get back to basics. I love that. You just came out the gate with a three-part framework foundation that you can grow on forever and ever and ever. Amen. And I think what one of the most painful pain points for our clients is what the heck do we create? But
Yeah.
here's the deal, kids. You do that deep dive audit, you put it on your strategy, and you know what to create from there. But you don't
Yeah.
know unless you know, and you got to get into your data. So like this helps you with a North Star. It helps you stay focused.
Mhm.
And it helps you not it helps you squash the overwhelm because social can be overwhelming.
You can, if you let it be. But again,
Yeah.
that's a choice, as we talked about before. You can choose to allow that burden to sit on your shoulders. But here's a quick little trick. And if you are the one who struggles to know what to post, which I've been there, we've all been there, you can change that in perpetuity. I'm going to give you a couple of different tools you can utilize to never have to worry about what to post ever again. One of them is to use the Facebook ads library. So
Yes.
it's actually a link you can go to. And if you type in pizza right now, you can see every single ad in the world running that has the keyword pizza. And a lot of it's going to be your Papa John's and Papa Murphy's of the world. But if you just want to know, like, what does the creative look like? What are they saying? What are they doing? You're actually going to be very underwhelmed. So if you're a pizza company locally and you're like, hey, how do I get more sales online? Well, you go there and you'll have this immediate affirmation that maybe what I'm doing is okay after all. But you can also, and I'll say borrow, because I don't like stealing or
Right.
copying people's ideas.
Yep.
But you're going to go and you're going to say, oh my gosh, that font or that offer or how they're framing the copy here is a really good idea. I also use Google Trends, which is a great place.
Mm.
You can type in, if you're a chiropractor or a spa, you can type in a couple of different search terms that you think are kind of popular right now. There is Twitter Trends. There is Chat GPT. So if you're in, again, you're a chiropractor and you go, give me 25 ideas for things I can post about in my business, you'll be very surprised.
Mhm.
I will also tell people to go to Facebook or go to Google. And if you are located in, say, Chicago, Illinois, and you want to find ideas for spas and salons, I would say look at spas and salons in Atlanta, in New York
Mm.
City, in Nashville, and just go through their website and go through their socials and come up with 10 ideas. And within 10 minutes, there's no reason why you won't have 10 ideas. And here's what I do. I take screenshots of all of those things and I put them in a folder on my desktop and I keep them there. And I'll go on a rainy day where I'm like, okay, now I'm running out of content. I'll go there and I'll say, I really like how they're focusing on smiling faces here. I really like how they're focused on talking about their clients as the hero here. I like how this one's using testimonials, both in written form and in video form. And you say, hey, we can do that with our branding, with our style, with our photography. And then all of a sudden, you're not copying them. You're just taking a concept, making it your own, which by the way is pretty much what everybody does now.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you follow that, because everywhere you go, you're looking online, take screenshots of things, save it, set it aside, and then use that as your content inspiration. And that's what I put in my strategies for clients is I call it creative inspiration. And I have a whole page or more dedicated to here are things that will help you generate the inspiration to create great content specifically for your brand.
Oh, I love that. Three major ideas right there. Four major ideas to get content. You can never run out of content. Plus, you frame it in your story. You cannot lose. Chris, This is amazing. You gave us a social media strategy. Then you told us where to go and find content. Brother, thank you so much for sharing this fantastic, valuable, priceless information. So what if people want to work with you, friend? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, I would love that. I would love to have a conversation with people. And I genuinely do love talking about marketing and helping people, even if it never relates to business. So feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn, LinkedIn/Chris B. Burns, double B there.
Yeah.
I do have a marketing company called Lux Level Media or luxlevelmedia.com. And then on my personal website, which is iamchrisburns.com, I have some different services. Again, you can book a free 15-minute brand audit or marketing audit with me, where I'll give you my insights on what your company is currently doing. And then I do have a business podcast as well called Hustle Nation Podcast that I like to throw out there as well, if you're interested in learning about entrepreneurship, leadership, sales, things like that.
Yes. And you're an author. Tell us about your book.
I am. So I wrote this book called King of the Mental Swing, How to Win at Golf and Life by Thinking Differently. It's a rabbit hole I could go down and talk a lot about, but basically it's probably 65% about life and the remainder mostly about golf. But it's really about how everything in life is up to you, meaning you can choose to either see the positive or see the negative. You can choose to act or have negative body language. You can choose to always see the silver lining like I do or not. And then ultimately, I have a recipe framework in here that is a lot of what I talk about in marketing and leadership, which is, and I'll make this very quick.
Yeah.
It's a lot like creating a pot of chili. If you travel the world, you will come back with literally millions of recipes on how to make a pot of chili. So it could be spicy, not spicy, beans, no beans, ground beef, ground chicken, you get the point.
Yep.
And there is no right or wrong answer. It's just that there are a lot of ways to do it, but ultimately you're going to create the recipe based on what you want. So if you want spicy, you want a lot of meat, no beans, that's the way you're going to make it. And if you follow the recipe and you use the right utensils and the right ingredients, you are going to get that outcome. And so I use my recipe framework on allowing people to see, okay, here are the ingredients available. And then you pick what you need, which might be different from what I need. Mm-hmm. And it gives you all the inspiration and all the guidance to be able to come out of it by being the king or queen of your mental domain, so that you're no longer renting space in your head, you are owning space, and you are truly inspired to be your best self. And as you can see, I bring a lot of that inspiration into my marketing as well.
Yes, man. Hit me with that
title. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you got it. Hit me with the title one more time.
King of the Mental Swing, How to Win at Golf and Life by Thinking Differently.
I love it. I'm an avid reader. I got to get me a copy of that. So Chris.
I'll send you one.
Oh, you're so sweet. Entrepreneur, author, social media marketing expert, all around fantastic guy. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, for sharing your strategy, for sharing your content tips. And don't forget, get to Chris on LinkedIn, on his websites, pick up his book, and contact him if you need some more help on your marketing. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Cool. I'm Heather Holloway, and you've been listening to Social Media Success for Professionals. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me and my team. Hey, remember, check the show notes for resources and links to other episodes, and don't forget to hit that subscribe and follow button to be notified when new episodes are released.